Welcome to the course HR Business Partners. The objective of this course is to explore the expectations of business leaders from their HR business partners. My name is Femi Ojomo. Okay, in this course we'll be looking at different areas which are who is an HR business partner, essential skills of an HR BP, business expectations from an HRBP, HRBP self-assessment metrics, examples of HRBP's performance tracking dashboard, and some set of nuggets as far as HR business partnering is concerned. The whole concept of HR business partnering was made pronounced by a man by the name David Ulrich. Now, his model came up with a 2x2 matrix, as we can see here, which to each side has got something labeled. There's process, there's strategic, there's people, there's administration. You have SP, which is more about strategic partner. For your strategic partner, it's expected that this individual or this function should be grounded in process and strategic elements of the business. You have your change champions, or change agents rather. Change agents are to be grounded in the people and the strategic direction of the business, as the case may be. You have the employee champion. Employee champion should be well grounded in people and administration. And last but not the least, you have administrative experts who should be well grounded in administration and process. Now, looking at this 2x2 matrix came about the tripod. As far as the tripod is concerned and the structuring of the HR department that will be tapped to be efficient and effective, three groups are expected. Shared services. You have shared services, you have center of excellence, and you have HR business partnering. For center of excellence, which sometimes is also referred to as centers of expertise, this includes HR specialists in areas such as staffing, compensation, training, benefits, and labor. Different specialist role. Then you have shared services, which is a central unit for HR-related administrative and transactional tasks, the day-to-day requests from employees, and then probably those who have even retired from the business. Then you now have the HR business partners. The average HR business partner are members of the HR department who are, to a large extent, are generalists, understand the process and are highly strategic, and they would work closely with business unit managers in their strategic role, because their role is very, very strategic. So that is how the bit of the HR business partner came to be. Again, as an HR business partner, those individuals work closely with business leaders or leaders for the different section of the business in which they've been assigned to. So the HR business partner, which is a strategic partner, falls within process and strategic, like I've mentioned earlier on. However, this does not rule out the fact that the HR business partner should also be grounded in people and some elements of HR administration, which takes care of transactional day-to-day HR activities. The HR business partner is expected to be experienced in human resource practice, would work directly with organization senior leadership, because more often than not, you have HR business partners or these individuals based or are expected to work with some work groups within the organization. They develop and direct HR agenda in support of organizational goals through the assigned sections of the business. So you have someone who is an HR business partner, a member of the HR department, but works closely with the leadership of the plant or the production factory, supporting them with all HR initiatives and interventions. So, in a nutshell, this is who an HR business partner really is. So, let's quickly look at the essential skills of an HR business partner. Essential skills of an HR business partner. First and foremost, I think it's important to state that the skills required of an HR business partner is not limited to all of these skills here. You can have more. However, these are essential skills like mentioned. The first here is technical competence in HR. You need to understand human resource, both transactional and transformational. Data analytics competence is very, very important because as an HRBP, you will come across data, you will collect data, you will be the custodian of data. Now, data is not meant to be collected for the sake of collection. Data is meant to be collected, processed, and rendered. You need to work with data to understand what the problems are, to project the future as far as human elements are concerned within the workplace from a good place. You need to have business acumen and strategic thinking. You need to, in terms of business acumen, you need to understand how a business works. Beyond that, you also need to understand the business of the business in which you found yourself. You need to have a remarkable strategic thinking prowess ability. You need to be able to think strategically. Remember, we said strategic partner falls between process and strategic. So that is part of the core area of your function as an HR business partner. Organizational knowledge that I've mentioned above, because for every organization you find yourself, there will be peculiarities. For the fact that you worked in one bank and you went to another bank does not mean it's going to be the same thing. So you need to understand the business, the organization in which you find yourself, and by extension, the section in which you've been assigned your portfolio to function. Listening and questioning skills. As an HR business partner, it's very, very important that you have the ability to listen. You listen to understand and not necessarily listening to want to give your opinion or set your opinion. You need to also have the ability to ask the right questions, and this can only be when you are a good listener. You need to have stakeholder management skills because you'll be dealing with different kinds of people, different kinds of group and affiliations. So you need to understand how to deal with these individuals or group of collection of people. Organizational skills is also very, very important because for every organization, there's always going to be politics. So organizational politics is very, very important. You need to understand the way the politics within the organization you find yourself plays, who are the active players, and how do they go about playing their politics so that you can have things work in the right way for you. And change management is also very, very critical because in the course of business and in the course of working closely with your partners, change will be essential, will be important. So how do you ensure that the different stages of change are being taken care of? So by the time you're introducing change, you will see that some people will push back. How do you manage that process? How do you carry people along in the process of change? So these are skills that an HR business partner should endeavor to acquire, and there are quite a lot of ways of doing this. You can enroll for courses, you can pick on individuals that you feel are grounded in any of this and let them mentor you. You can read books to build your skill, and beyond this, like I mentioned earlier on, there are other skills that you also need to look into. We are in a computer age, and technology is a big deal, so you also need to be grounded in the use of applications and all of those other tools, software as a services out there. Now we'll go into the business expectations. What are the business expectations from an HR business partner? All right. So what are the expectations of business from an HR business partner? When we talk about expectations, we'll be looking at 5 different aspects: strategy, planning, advisory, process, and administrative. We'll take them one after the other. Strategy. The business expects that you as an HR business partner is aware of the strategy of the organization, the strategic objectives, and how the part of the organization that you've been assigned to or to support is expected to deliver on their own part of the strategy. You have to help them make strategy simple, relatable, and workable. One of the pain points of strategy is that by the time you're leaving the top tiers of the organization and coming down to the lower cadres, you will discover that people hardly get to understand what the strategy of the business really is. So at this level, it's also your part of your portfolio, part of your responsibility to ensure that the strategy, the direction of the business is made so simple that those you are responsible for can easily understand what the direction of the business really is. So the first point of call for you as the HRBP is to dissect the strategy of the organization and see how your assigned portfolio within the place you play is expected to deliver on expectations, or what expectations are expected of them. The next thing will be planning. The HRBP in this instance is expected to work closely with the leadership of the assigned coverage areas to plan scope of work, design job, and set performance criteria, working closely with the Center of Expertise. An action plan is derived and extensively tracked from a productivity and HR perspective. So you will sit with the leadership of, say for instance, you've been assigned to work in the factory. You will sit with the leadership of the factory to plan, to scope work, to scope expectations, set up performance criteria, working closely with the Center of Expertise, because definitely there will be someone who owns the portfolio for job design or performance management or whatever it is for the organization, working closely with these ones to ensure that value is delivered for those in the plant. So planning is very, very important. There is also the bit of advisory. As an HR business partner, it's part of your function as an internal consultant to the leadership. You need to identify potential issues, spot gaps, and coordinate the process of closing those gaps or solving problems. Because at the end of the day, you've been assigned to that section of the business because first and foremost, you have an understanding of HR, you have the business acumen, you understand business, you understand the organization, you have the board eye, you can see things beyond what the ordinary or normal staff would see. So it's expected of you to be that internal expert, advising the leadership as to, okay, this is what will happen if we do X, Y. If we don't do X, Y, Z, this is what might likely happen. So you become the internal consultant to the business within where you function. Process. As an HR business partner, you should be familiar with the process and procedures of the section of concern, and by extension, the organization. So process is very, very important. With this, you can make recommendations where required for review and redesign for the purpose of scaling up productivity and efficiency. Now, the reason why you're being responsible for a section of the business is because of productivity and efficiency and the delivery of goals and expectations that will add up to the overall goals of the business. So, again, if we go back to the 2x2 matrix of David Orich, you see that strategic partner falls between process and strategic. So process is very, very important. How do we get things done? For the fact that we have a process for getting it done does not mean that that process is the most efficient way of getting things done. So that is where your skills and expertise also come to play as an HR business partner. And last and the final of it is administrative. As an HR business partner, it's expected that you will be the reference point for all HR administrative needs, because you work closely with these people on site, maybe in the plant or wherever it is. They have easy access to you. They can quickly come to you, run to you if they have issues, be it leave matters, welfare. Name the different issues that HR people are responsible for on a day-to-day basis. Different as far as human beings are concerned, there will always be one thing or the other that needs to be solved. So you'll be the first go-to person. So as an HR business partner, the expectations of the business from you are around these 5 areas: strategy as far as they are concerned, planning, helping them to plan and understand work, advisory, playing the role of an internal consultant, working the process and ensuring that the process delivers as expected and the process is not a setback in terms of productivity and efficiency, and also playing the role of first contact, point of call for staff. So as an HR business partner, it's very important that one master all of this and have it at the back of one's mind that these are critical areas that I need to play in. So we'll quickly look at HRBP self-assessment metrics. Right, so what are the self-assessment metrics for an HR business partner? Now, it is also important to state that these metrics here are not the only metrics that an HR business partner can adopt for self-assessment. The reason why you need to assess yourself is to have this feeler within you that, okay, I'm really delivering or offering value within where I've found myself. So the first thing here, area of focus, will be performance. The metrics there will be percentage growth in overall performance. By that we mean, for instance, let's say John, as an HR business partner, works closely with the supply chain department. Now, as far as overall performance of the supply chain department has there been growth? If performance within the supply chain is being tracked and is being compared and trends analysis are being carried out, has there been improvement in terms of performance, overall performance of the department? So as an HR business partner, you want to know if this is really happening, because if it shows that month on month or whatever period is being used for the analysis, it shows that performance continues to dip. That means there's something wrong with the department and also your function as an HR business partner within that department. Percentage growth in individual average performance. Now, this speaks to individuals within the department. Again, you find yourself in supply chain, and there are individuals there who work in supply chain. So by the time you look at the average performance of all these individuals, it gives you an idea of, okay, are people really improving on the job? Are they really delivering as expected? Because at the start of the period, there are some expectations that have been communicated, and at the end of the period, or whatever period has been adopted, you get to assess if indeed people have delivered on these goals and expectations. You also look at percentage achievement of strategic milestones. So for every department or every section of the business, there will be milestones, there are projects that needs to be actualized. And as an HR business partner, you also have an active role, an important role to play in the actualization of these strategic milestones. So how many of those milestones were being achieved? So if there's at the start of the period, there's a plan to achieve maybe 5 things that are very strategic to the growth of that department, which would invariably also impact the business. And at the end of the period, you guys could only deliver 1. So there's something wrong. So this is also one thing that as an HR business partner, you also need to pay attention to. Percentage achievement of sections or department strategy. So for the department, I guess this is straight to the point. For the department supply chain, what's the strategy? What are those tactical moves that the department has decided to take on? If the department fails to deliver on all of this, then as an HR business partner, to an extent, there is a negative in performance as well. Talent. Now, percentage talent needs closed. So for the supply chain, probably some portfolios have been identified that needs to be filled for a period of time. How many of those portfolios were filled? Yes, as an HR business partner, you'll be working closely with your colleague in the center of expertise to probably feed this portfolio. But again, what it means is that you as an HR business partner, you necessarily don't need to go to sleep because there's somebody who is responsible for recruitment, probably in the head office, who should close on such mandate. You also can look out for candidates that are credible and route them through the recruitment expert to ensure that your section of the business gets to move as expected. High performing talents retained. So in terms of retention within your section of the business, are high performers retained, or they get to leave the section of the business? So it's part of your job to ensure that the high potential, high performing individuals are retained within the business, and by extension most especially where you function. Retention at different levels, percentage of critical roles with ready successors. So what are the critical roles in supply chain? Have you been able to identify these roles? Are they in alignment with the critical roles of the business? Based on this, how many of those critical roles has got successors in the waiting? So this is very important. So situation whereby you have 20% of your critical roles having just successors while 80% don't have successors, then there's something wrong. Percentage growth in employee engagement. How engaged are people within the supply chain in which you've been assigned to, for instance? Percentage individual development plan executed for high potentials. Now you get to identify the high potentials within your section of the business, and you come up with individual development plan for them. To what extent are these personal development plan executed and closed? Percentage average return on investment on upskilling intervention. So what you're doing here is that, yes, people are being trained probably through the center of expertise. Now you need to work closely with the center of expertise to ensure that the training the training in which your people have been sent for or enrolled into are trainings or areas of needs that are very important to the section of the business. So beyond that, you also want to track that there is a transfer of knowledge on the job. That is when you can really establish the return on investment as far as the job is concerned. Section onboarding completed. For every new hire coming into business, there is need for them to be inducted and be onboarded into the business. How many of those individuals within your section of the business are being onboarded the right way? Because if they don't, then there's a likelihood that they would have little or no understanding as to how work is structured within your section of the business, and invariably probably even negatively impact work. Attrition rate. How often do people leave your section of the business? If you have high attrition rate, then there's call for concern for that section of the business, and the first person to be called will be the HR business partner. Promotion rate. How many people get promoted? Promotion is a function of performance. So if people don't get promoted in your section, that means performance is not acceptable. Talent initiatives closed. Number of talent initiatives closed. So what talents have been planned for a period? How many of those what talent initiatives have been planned for a period? How many of those initiatives were closed? And many more metrics that can be identified under talent. Change. Percentage change implemented within percentage average rating. So the change implemented, what is the average rating in terms of adoption and implementation? Work, number of absenteeism, how many people get to be absent? Workplace accident. If you have high workplace accident, then that means there's something wrong. Perhaps it's time for you to kick in some health and safety trainings or initiatives. Workplace improvement sessions. How many workplace improvement sessions has been planned? So quite a lot of metrics that an HRBP can think of, and within the peculiarity of the business and the place in which the HRBP has been assigned, come up with that dashboard to self-track beyond your own scorecard with your line managers, and probably if it's a matrix and your head of HR or whoever it is. Have something that you can track to say, okay, this is the level of improvement achieved within my section of the business. So we look at examples of HRBP's performance tracking dashboard. Okay, so your performance tracking dashboard can be achieved with something as simple as Excel using pivot table. all you need to do is to collate your data, have your data cleaned and arranged in the right tables and with the right titles. So once you do that, convert to Pivot and do all that you need to do. So before you even go far into converting your table into a pivot, what you want to do is to first list out the things that you want to focus on in terms of reporting. Now, once you identify those things that you want to report on, then it makes life very easy for you to now say, okay, these are the things I want to chart. And from charting them, I'll be able to really decipher what are the issues, where the gaps are, and what are working in our favor as far as my section of the business is concerned. So what we have here is just an example of a simple dashboard for reporting purpose. So you can do different things with Excel, and if you are skilled with Power BI, it's also one of those tools that you can adopt. Outside of this tool, there are other software as a services that are available out there, where most of them are paid for, that you can use for tracking and analyzing your report. And I think one of the beauty of Excel nowadays is that there are some plugins that will help you automatically carry out projections and even analysis on your behalf if you're not really good with Excel. So what has been done is there is this dashboard. The Excel has been provided for you to have access to it and also play around with it. There are different courses online on how to become a guru in Excel, from basic to intermediate to advanced. I will encourage or plead with you to look at these courses and see what you can learn and acquire from such courses. All right, before we quickly talk about the nuggets for HR business partners, I would like to quickly talk about the editable templates available on femiojomo.com. Please feel free to visit and explore these templates for your own use. All right, some quick nuggets. Now, when it comes to HR business partners, there are different audience. You have the leaders, you have the managers, and you have the staff. Now, each of these audience have got their own peculiarity in terms of need and the kind of support they want from their HR business partner. For example, the staff most often are interested in administrative support most of the time. Now, the managers want some level of support in terms of making work very easy for them, while the leaders would want the HR business partner to work from a strategic viewpoint, help them answer tough questions as to how to get their people to work according to the expectations of the business, while the managers would prefer more from an HR business partner from the aspect of process. How do we make things work faster, etc. Now, the HR business partnering goes beyond HR. So don't get fooled when you are an HR business partner and you think everything that you have to do is HR. No. When you are an HR business partner, you need to, if you find yourself in IT, you need to think IT. Yes, you have the technical knowledge of HR, but again, it is important for you to think IT before you can tailor your knowledge of HR to serve the purpose or the need, the gaps in IT. If you find yourself in the factory, the dynamics of factory operations are very, very important. You can't just come from, maybe you were in accounts department or you were in supply chain and you were moved to the factory and you want to go and approach work the way you've approached it in supply chain. It's you setting up yourself for failure. Data is key. It needs to be collected, analyzed, and rendered in the most convincing manner. Data is very, very important because in this world of today, data is king. Just like we say customer is king. So you need to see how you collect the right data, clean data, not erroneous data. Value of HRBP is established when real problems get solved and potential problems are prevented. And that is the truth, because there are going to be problems on a day-to-day basis. How often are these problems being solved? And how often do you get to envisage that a problem might come up? How often do you get to provide the right advice, saying that, you know what, if we're going to take this action now, it's going to affect us adversely. I would recommend that we wait. This is not the right time to take this action. So, as an HR business partner, your role is more about where you found yourself, now using your ability, your technical ability to address those problems. So on that note, we'll say thank you for attending the course, and I'm wishing you the very best in your career.